You know what I'm gonna start saying is this is the A to B podcast, your number one source for military entrepreneurship. That's what we're gonna go with. Hey, welcome back to the A to B podcast, your number one source for. Wait, I messed it up. Welcome back to the A to B podcast, your number one source for military entrepreneurship. We are here with retired Marine Gunnery Sergeant Bruno Nascimento. We have been talking about for quite a little bit. If you guys want to go, you guys can go back to the other podcast that we were just recording. Now we are going to transition about life outside of the military and what does it entail in order for you to be outside of the military. And we're going to touch on some of the things that we are doing, we're collaborating on together in order for us to better service our military service member. So you got out of the Marine Corps. What year did you get out?
This year, 2023, was when I officially ended my time as active duty.
Okay, and in the previous podcast, which you guys can watch right here, we were talking about that how your transition went and your early years in the Marine Corps and the 9 deployments that you actually had. Yeah. But now, what I would like to talk about is, okay, so you were doing real estate for 5 years out of your active duty career. You decided to transition out. And then now you find yourself with all the time in the world. Can you tell us some of the projects that you're working on?
Yeah. So I mean, right now it's me focusing on continuing the real estate journey, but still being able to tap into the things that really matter to me. The pickups and drop offs for the kids, right? Whereas now, like that's incorporated into my daily schedule.
Exactly.
As if it's a date. It's a meeting that I have. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like one of my meetings, right, for my day is, going and picking up my son from school.
I got a question for you, because this is something that happens to me. I'm gonna confess it. Okay. Do you sometimes feel like you're doing something wrong by like dropping off your kids, or how do I explain this? Because it sounds wrong. It sounds wrong, but do you get what I'm saying?
I absolutely get it.
Because remember, man, like, well, when we were inside of the Marine Corps, we kind of had to ask for permission.
Yeah.
And then you felt bad because while you were dropping off your kids, you were arriving late to work. And then everyone looked at you as a fucking piece of shit for being a good dad. Yeah. So now it happens to me. That's why I'm asking you.
Yeah.
I took my kids to school this morning. And I still haven't gotten over that to where it's like, man, I should be doing something else. Do you feel that?
Yeah, I mean, like I did in the beginning, So I think what helped, man, was my transition period out. So me doing the skill bridge, me doing all, taking leave and TAD and everything else, it helped me adjust to the new lifestyle. Okay. Right, to where I'm not feeling guilty about taking them. Now is, if I'm busy and I can't pick them up, right, now I feel guilty for not being there to do something that I've missed out on for so long.
Gotcha.
Right. So, but initially I did, you know what I mean? Because it's like, because like you said, man, like for so long, for like years, we've been kind of molded to think a certain way and carry yourselves a certain way, where I'm feeling bad that like I'm over here dropping off my kids, but there is the Marine who's in the office grinding away, so now I feel lesser of a Marine for not being in the fighting hole with that Marine doing some of the stuff. And, but man, like that is the fuel, right, that I use to be like, it's time for me to let it go, man. You know what I mean? Yeah. I needed that, because it was one of those where I was taking time away, man, that like at the time I wasn't processing. Earlier you mentioned something about like, like you didn't mind deploying, like you liked deploying. Yeah. Like I loved deploying when I was a Marine, right? But then it took me some time to kind of realize that me wanting to deploy because I wanted to, be getting my hands dirty and I want to, be a part of the fight and feel all included. It also meant that I was taking, time away from my kids. They can never get that back.
Yeah, exactly.
Never.
And the most crucial years as well.
Man, years 1 through 5, right, of a child's life is critical for their development, right? So here I was, man, like I went on deployment one time that I was gone for 11 and a half months. My
Damn.
son was born in December. I left for deployment in January. I didn't get back until the end of the year.
Mm.
I walk in the car and then like, my son Lucas is little baby looking at me like, who is this
Yeah,
guy?
yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? But it was just one of those things, man. Like you're not, as a Marine, you're not thinking about that. Like you're just, so ingrained with like, it's what I need to do. I need to deploy. I need to be out there. I need to be doing these things. And it's like, man, that's, you know,
Now, one of the things that is happening to me and I'm struggling with is that my mind goes 1,000 miles, and I feel that I always have to be doing something. And I'm gonna open up in the podcast, and I'm gonna say this, man. Like, I'm making good money. Part of it, which we'll go back to, is obviously you get that VA disability. In your case, you get VA disability and your retirement. Do you feel that that gives you that is what really gives you the peace of mind in order for you to do the type of things, knowing that everything else that you do, it's just to build instead of just to take care of your family? Because the reason why I asked that question is because that's how I feel. I got out because of my family, but yet I'm always doing stuff. I'm always on the
Yeah.
phone, or I'm always working. I'm recording podcasts. I'm doing this, and then it gets to a point that my wife has to kind of reset me and be like, "Hey, motherfucker, you haven't been with us, for like a week. You're. It's like you're here, but you're not here.
Yeah.
So have you experienced that since you've been out?
Yeah, big time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the same thing, man. And that's why it's so crucial to have that rock, right? To have that, have that thing that is going to ground you and kind of bring you back once you start, what I call going back to Marine mode,
Yeah.
right? Because Marines, we're wired to always be on the go and doing all sorts of things, right? And then now, I do get that reminder of like, okay, hey, Mr. Busy Man, like, hello, we're here too.
Yeah. Exactly.
But it's what I mean, and that's why, man, I think that the way to kind of adapt to that is incorporating some of that things into your schedule, right? Whereas like now, and my wife knows, man, I the Google Calendar, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, my wife. Yeah, my wife. Yeah, I got my wife on that too. I tell my wife, "Do you put it on the calendar?"
Exactly.
And then, but dude, my wife's Puerto Rican. I can get stabbed easily. I'm kidding, honey. I love you. Okay, I love you. She's probably watching right now on TikTok. But okay, so we're building. What are some of the things that we have? You want to start it off with some of the things that we have going on right now and how we're servicing our members?
Yeah, man. So the biggest thing that we got going on right now is the 10X veterans movement that we got going on, right? Which was us partnering up with Grant Cardone and the 10X brand to take what it is that we've already been doing for a while here, right, locally to Southern California and to the military bases, to saying, you know what, man, like we need to be able to expand this on a national level to get this information to more people, right? And then kind of getting them to understand that it's not just real estate, right? So you figure, you have two primary things on ways to kind of print money, right? One is going to be the real estate, so we talk about, home ownership and everything else and the power of investing in real estate, but then also getting, so many service members to understand that you have the ability, right, to dip into the entrepreneurship space, right? Because you figure some of the best service members, right, the go-to people, right, they have entrepreneurship tendencies that they don't even know yet.
Exactly.
Because they're so used to being resourceful and so used to getting the job done that sometimes, it would take a Bruno or an Albert to get in front of them to say, hey, brother, hey, sister, come here. Let me show you how you can take your way of thinking and implement that into, something else that can generate, generational wealth for you and your family. So the 10X veterans movement is what I would say is probably like the biggest thing that we're cooking up right now. We had our first event last month over here in San Diego. That was tremendous, man. We had so many people come out. The feedback that we got was, man, nothing less than like,
because
amazing.
it was all what I saw in that event was the transformation of people looking at it from a different lens and from a different perspective. Because what people don't realize is that probably the best military benefit or entitlement, however you want to call it, that we get is the VA home loan. And a lot of people think that the VA home loan, because essentially, the government just takes it up to that. It's like, oh, well, that is an incentive in order for you to buy a home.
Right.
But they don't see the other opportunities that it gives you in order for you to transform into a real estate investor. And when in that class, man, I saw when people's eyes literally lit up and were like, whoa, so you're telling me that now I can do this with multi-unit families and that I can tap into the equity of this home in order for me to do X, and that I can build a trust to have layers of protection and include my families. Oh, dude, like that's when I was like, wow, this is a game changer.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah, what's up?
So, what do you think, right, looking back in your time as active duty, if you would have received some of this information earlier on in your career? Like what could have changed for you and your life in the military had you received some of this information earlier on?
Oh man. Okay. How much time we got? Okay. So I'm gonna get personal with it. Okay. I haven't never. I think I've told this story in the last podcast, but I didn't go into detail in it. So I'll go a little bit more in detail with it, right? So I was a corporal about to go on deployment. I was doing my workup in order for me to go on deployment. We were about to go on shift for 2 weeks because that's what you do when you go on a meal. And I literally on the 7-ton, getting ready to depart from the Pulgas Motor T, from the Pulgas, what's that called? The
Motor pool.
Motor pool, yes, from the Pulgas Motor pool. And then I get a phone call from my grandma's phone. And then she says, it's one of my cousins, which is weird because they're never together. And then he stays quiet and he just says, we lost him. I was like, I thought it was my grandma, as a matter of fact, originally. I was like, what? Like, what are you talking about? And it was my grandfather. He had a heart attack. He had a heart attack. He was healthy. He was 62 years old when he died. He was a diabetic, so I think that's what caused the a flare up in his health. But all of a sudden, like that, he was the provider of our family.
Yeah.
They lost their home.
Oh,
I had no knowledge. He only had a $50,000 insurance policy, but he was also an entrepreneur. He was a doctor in Puerto Rico, but he was also an entrepreneur. And what he did was he was doing all the right moves. He took the money from the house in order for him to fund his other business. He owned a restaurant, a very highly successful restaurant in Puerto Rico, but he didn't have a way for insuring it. So he didn't have a trust, some of the things that got talked into, so he didn't have a trust. He didn't have enough coverage in order for him to, essentially leave us good. But I don't blame him for that. I had no way of helping my grandma. No way of helping my grandma. Zero way of helping her. I was just simply corporal that I was already tied up with my own debt. Because as soon as Navy Federal reached out to me, it's like, hey, have you ever considered reaching credit card? Credit card, that's free money. I'm Hispanic, dog. I was like, that's free money right there. Hell yeah. So, and I quickly maxed out that credit card. And by the time that he died, there was no way that I could help. I had to go to Navy Marine Corps Relief Society, with shout out, because they're a great institution. I had to go out to Navy Marine Corps Relief Society just for me to pay my plane ticket back home. I didn't know what emergency fund was. I had no idea what it was. Wow. So if you ask me what difference it would have made, it would have essentially put me in a position to where I could have helped my grandma financially when she needed it the most. Man. It would have helped me for the bank to not take advantage of my grandma and my grandpa, and for me to be able to give them more pushback in order for them to keep their home. That's the difference that this information, and a lot of people they probably spend their entire life going through the motions of the day to day and never think about this, because luckily, and they're blessed that they never had to go through a situation like this. But I did while I was in the Marine Corps, and that's what really opened my eyes a lot, and like, man, I need to do better. I still mess around with finances for a couple of years. um, before I really got serious about it. But yeah, if I would have had this information beforehand, which probably the information was out there, like you mentioned in the previous
Right, right.
podcast, the information was out there. I was just ignorant enough to not wanting to go seek it because I was a 21, 22 year old
Yeah,
freaking
yeah.
guy, so that wasn't my priority at the time. So yeah, that's what that information would have done for me. Probably would have saved my family because my family.
But now, do you think that having gone through that experience, right? Do you think that that helps your way of being passionate behind what it is that you do now?
Oh yeah, 100%. I do what I do, and I did this when I was a command financial advisor as well. I do what I do that I do out of passion. And we can say real estate, right?
Right.
Because obviously we do real estate. But in reality, man, I'm just passionate about helping people.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was equally passionate, and my sound guy Jose, shout out, hit that button, Jose, boom, 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 let's go. So my sound guy Jose, he can probably tell you, man, like the same amount of passion that I bring to real estate, I brought to recruiting duty.
Oh, nice.
Because for me, I got taught this very early on in my sales career, bro. It's you can screw somebody over
Yeah.
in a position when you get put in a position of trust. It's very easy for you to screw someone over. It's very hard to screw somebody over twice. And it's even harder to get a referral out of that person that you screwed. Okay. So I learned very early on in my career that, listen, even if you get put in a position to take advantage of somebody, you're only going to be able to take advantage of that person once.
Yeah.
So I took that and I put that into my ethics code. It's like I'm not, even if I get in a position to where I can take advantage of somebody, I never will. Because you know what you have? Friends that are going to want to buy or sell homes, or friends that are going to want to become Marines, or friends that are going to want whatever product is out there.
Mm-hmm.
If I decide to move into insurance, or if I decide to do something else.
Yeah.
So I was like, I always approach it with that ethical thing. It's like my clients always comes first, even if I had to lose something at in the short term, because I know the testimony that they're gonna be able to give in the long term, and that's gonna give me 10x of whatever, pun intended, Grant Cardone, of whatever it is that I'm going to do in life. So
And that's good, man, because I'm telling you, like that mentality and that approach right there is what will keep you thriving, right? It's
yeah,
gonna be the thing that, like, will come back to you in abundance, man.
yeah,
Because I'm telling you, like, a lot of times people get so caught up on what it is that I can get from something instead of not being in a place of giving,
yeah,
right? Give, man, and you will receive. And I
yeah,
think that if people took that approach, man, and they looked at life that way, right? Specifically business too, man, if just help people, and then people will help you in return.
yeah. And transitioning to something a little bit more trending right now. Of course, a lot of people don't know this information, but I'm one to always be fully transparent. Well, not I'm one. I think everyone in this building here. That's why I love about being with this group of people. We're very transparent, and we like to educate people whether it benefits us or not. We
Right,
always
right.
like to give the information. So, as you know, right now, the National Association of Realtors, along with Keller Williams and Home Services, and then now they submitted another lawsuit with that includes EXP and a couple of other brokerages. It's going on right now because realtors are getting accused. Well, they were found guilty of inflating the buyer's commission in order for their personal gain. Okay, so how do you feel about that specific topic that's going on right now? Because we're gonna have people that are gonna approach us and be like, "Oh man, what should I need to pay you for doing real estate?"
Yeah, I mean, so I think that the issue, right? So they were being found guilty of colluding with each other to to make it seem as if the commissions weren't negotiable, right?
Yeah,
And kind of trying to set a standard for something that isn't a standard when it is something that can't be negotiated, right? Man, I feel as if it's going to boil down to people that are able to thrive because they're able to adapt, right? And that goes right in line with what you and I were just talking about in the sense of giving, right? Where if you educate the people that you work with, right? If you maintain transparency that you talked about, right? If you California, disclose, right? If you disclose things, then it'll prevent people from kind of reaching the point to where things are at now, right? I think California, and I know that every state is different, right?
Yeah.
But California is a state that it's kind of difficult to say that things aren't disclosed. This is an incredibly disclosure heavy
Yeah.
state. And our listing agreement and the buyer's compensation agreement, it's in bold. It talks about that commissions are negotiable. There is no standard, right? And it kind of opens up the floor for the consumer to be more educated, on how that process works. Now what's going to happen from this, right? I think it's going to be, I think eventually we're going to reach a point to where the topic is going to be a little bit more sensitive, right? And then it's going to force the people that aren't doing it right to have to be transparent, right? I mean, for me, when I see, like what went on and what the verdict was, I'm like, man, this doesn't affect me in the slightest, right?
Yeah.
Because me, you, and everybody else that that I choose to work with, I know that we walk around with the highest level of integrity, right?
Yeah.
Because of what we just mentioned about giving
and the value that we bring to to our community, or to our niche, I guess I should say, which is the veteran, and military service member community. And what the services that we actually provide, right? So we talked about 10X vets, and obviously we talked about the, I know it's going to get brought up, and it's going to continue to be brought up. And 100%, I think that it should be talked to, because the reason why there's so much friction, in my opinion, the reason why there's so much friction with this is because people are tired of business as usual whenever it comes to the real estate market. And the people that are getting targeted right now is people that haven't been questioned in years, decades, and people are being like, wait, hold on a second. What is it that you do? What is it that you do again? And that's the way that I see it. And this is definitely should be a conversation, because there's going to be a lot of people going out of the woodworks and be like, oh, shoot, hold on a second, I should have been doing this. And it's why it's so important to ensure that you work with somebody that brings you the most value. And I made a video about this on TikTok. You have to work with somebody that brings you the most value. And what I always like to say to people is, I'm not just here to sell you a home. I'm here to put you in a position to succeed in the future and to create a win-win situation.
Yeah.
Let me put you an example, right? A couple of my clients, they were thinking about backing out on a new construction, right? And I was like, oh wait, why are you guys backing out of the new construction? And it was like, well, it was because, and they gave me their options, right? They gave me a whole list of options. But in reality, what was going on behind closed doors, it was that they were talking to one of their staff NCOs, and then they were telling them all the reasons of why they should not do it.
Of course.
But it was because that, and I asked, okay, do you know where that staff sergeant lives? Here's where he lived.
Base housing, for sure.
Base housing. What a shocker.
No ands or buts.
Yeah, what a shocker. He lived on base housing. And I even went a little bit deeper. What car does your staff NCO drive? Oh, he has like a 2019 lifted truck with this and that.
For sure.
That should let you know where that priorities of that individual that is giving you advice lies on depreciating assets. Right there. And they were like, oh, well, that makes sense. And then the other concern was, well, the payment right now because of the interest rates. So you know what I did? I talked to the lender, and the lender was like, yeah, they are only $1,000 away in order for them to get the next lower rate. You know what I did? Out of my commission, I gave them $1,000, and I was like, don't even tell them nothing. Don't even tell them nothing. Just give them the lower rate so that way they feel comfortable with that payment. And on top of that, I talked to the builder, and they took out their HOA fees for 1 year.
Yeah.
That is somebody that brings you value. You see what I'm saying? And unless somebody brings you that type of value, what are we really talking about? There's some agents that, and those are the agents that should be targeted, I think, with this whole thing. No, my commission is 5%, or my commission is 6%.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, why is your commission 5 or 6%? Oh, because that's what I charge. What? Wrong answer. No, my commission could be 4%, and these are the services that I'm going to provide. My
Exactly.
services are 5% is this, and my commission of 6% is this. These are the different values that I'm going to bring in each one. Which one do you feel comfortable? Oh yeah, we can work them out. If you want this, we can mix and match,
Right,
and
right,
then we can
right.
come up with a decision. That's just and that's on the sell side, because as of right now here in California, buyers are still not paying anything. But I guess that can easily go away.
Mm-hmm.
What I guess I want to transition to is the VHC. Can you talk
Mm-hmm.
to us a little bit more about the VHC?
Yeah, most definitely, man. So the VHC is a Veteran Homeowners Club, right? So it's a nonprofit that we have that is, it got stood up as our education arm, right? For us to be able to help veterans, transitioning service members understand about their entitlements, about financial planning, and then also to create an opportunity for us to give back to the community, right? So not just where we're only focused on real estate, but it's to get us involved in front of the people that we're serving, right? To
Yeah.
where like for example, we got the turkey giveaway, right? Which,
Yeah.
whether it's a turkey giveaway, the backpack drive, the scholarships,
Yeah.
that we give when it's finding opportunities, or not finding, but really creating opportunities
Opportunities. Yeah.
for us to be able to give back to people, right? So that we can help get them to a better position, right?
And not
But
only in real estate, but also
hmm
we were talking about it now in our meeting. The VA disability claims
yeah,
that everyone pointing them in the right direction, because obviously I think the transition and readiness seminar that all of our service members get whenever they get out, they're very good. But if you get that entrepreneur, which that's the road that I took, and that
hmm
room was full.
yeah,
If you took the entrepreneur route, you don't really have to do like a lot of capstone related things. Like
mm,
literally, you don't have to do anything. You just be like, okay, you're good. Now go
right,
out there
right,
and
right,
execute. They point you in the right direction, but I think nobody follows up with you, a lot.
right,
So connecting, with an organization like the VHC, which stands for Veteran Homeowners Club, um, it's really gonna help you in all aspects of
hmm
your transition outside of the military, or even with resources while you're inside of the military.
yeah,
So I think that some of those things are extremely beneficial, and I think that is the value that a lot of people really need to hear. And the reason why we're talking about this, guys, is because we want to ensure that people understand the things that you deserve.
yeah,
Because while we are inside of the military, we are servants.
hmm
You did a service to your country, whether it'll be for 4 years, whether it'll be for 30 years. Now it's time for you to find a group of individuals that you can relate to, that
yeah,
will give back to you because of the things that you did and the things that you actually deserve.
absolutely,
And man, like in all aspects, I'm talking about real estate. I'm talking about if you just simply looking for people that you wanna talk to or whatever, and point you in the right direction because of their experiences. We've been there, done that,
hmm
and we'll help you to get there. you
yeah.
know
And then it's doing that without the expectation of any sort of like reciprocation. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's doing something just because it's what we believe in.
Exactly.
Not doing something because we're expecting something in return,
Yeah.
right? And that right there, I think, is what makes the biggest differences between the different help that's out there.
Yeah.
Right, like we mentioned, it's a nonprofit organization, right? It's
Yeah.
something that we're doing strictly because we care.
Yeah, and one thing that I will say though is, um, the more support that we get with that nonprofit, not only essentially from the veterans that we're trying to serve, right? But more, that's gonna give us more bullets
hmm
in our chamber in order for us to go to these bigger institutions, in order for us to be like, hey, listen, we're a certified nonprofit organization. We have X amount of veterans that we service or
hmm
that we're trying
Yeah.
to reach with this, events that we're doing. How can you help these veterans?
hmm
And that's so hard to do, man. That is
It is.
so hard to do because I worked at the S3 in my battalion, and we were always trying to get stuff for our Marines. But guess what? Me as a gunny, I couldn't go directly to Gatorade and ask them to sponsor us.
Right, right,
But
right.
they can sponsor the nonprofit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, watch out. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
those are the things like Walmart, you know, all this other institutions that work around, you know, we are the link in between them that want to service them, and we make sure that we vet them, you know, that we vet them as well, so that way we don't have any type of shitty fucking people.
It's becoming that conduit to be able to get some of those things done.
That is exactly
You know,
what,
and I'll tell you, man, like a lot of times, you know, people ask like, well, what can I do, you know, to help? Like, what can we do to support? The biggest, right, and the most effective way to support, right, is spreading awareness. That's it, right? People think, you know, feel or think that as if that the only way that they can support is through financial means. It's not.
Yeah.
Right. What will go a lot further than $1 is you telling other people about what it is that we got going on.
Yeah.
Spread the awareness and let people know about the mission that we have, right? That we are literally out here trying to change the world, right, for veterans through financial literacy.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you my why, because a lot of people are like, man, you know, if I was a listener, I was trying to look at this as from the listener perspective, right? My why of why I'm so passionate about real estate and why I'm so passionate about essentially the nonprofit organization, right? I want people to see that I want to change the stigma of what it means for you to be in real estate. Because a lot of people think, oh, you're in real estate, oh, you're making a lot of money, and then you're just trying to make yourself rich, you know? That's not really the case. I'm going to tell you why I'm so passionate about real estate. And one, for real estate, because I like to create win-win situations. I promise you, I will not advise you to buy a home if you're not in a position for you to buy a home. That's the first thing. I'm going to tell you, hey, listen, if you want to get on this path, you got to do X, 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 and Y before you can actually get there. I'll help you. I'll follow up with you all the step of the way, but you have to be the one to take the action. That's whenever it comes to real estate. My why, as in for the nonprofit organization, is because I want to change the stigma of what it means to be a veteran. I'm going to put you an example. When we were in Puerto Rico, and Jose can probably testify to this. And we were in Puerto Rico, in as a recruiter, there was a billboard from the Department of Veterans Affairs, and that billboard was a veteran that was in wheelchairs. And it had a good message, you know. It had a positive message. Of course, they're not gonna put a negative message, but I was always so salty about that. It's like, why does the veteran have to be in wheelchair? Because the message that's being put out there is that we're broken individuals, that people should feel some type of sorry for us. I don't need nobody to feel sorry for me. I'm a very capable individual. Okay, so that is why I want to empower people to see, man, I want to be like that guy. Instead of me being like the broken individual that can't do nothing. No, I'm going to show you that you can be a successful veteran. I'm going to show you through my actions what is it that like a role model of what is it that you should follow. And the Veteran Homeowners Club allows me to do that.
Yeah.
In order for me to be that role model, to reach people, to touch as many people as possible, and be like, yeah, brother, it is possible. I respect what your staff sergeant, what your gunny is saying, but guess what? Here's a different perspective. They might not be wrong based on their experiences in the Marine Corps, but this is what a different lens that you can also look through it, because there are people out there that are like that, but there's really not that many of us.
Yeah, man, that's powerful.
Yeah. So,
that's deep.
Bruno, do we have any closing remarks before we finish the podcast?
Man, I just want to thank you again, man, for having me up here and giving me the opportunity to speak, man. I think that any opportunity that I get, man, to get behind a mic and continue to spread the message, man, I'm gonna do it, right? Because it's if I can do anything different, is just try to give back, right? I want people to learn from my mistakes, the things that I've done. But primarily, learning from the things that I failed to do, right? And if I can prevent somebody from making the same mistakes, then why not, right?
Yeah.
If I can get you to a place that, that you may want to get to, but I can kind of give you the shortcut and tell you, all the routes not to take, because that is what's going to ultimately lead you to fall off the cliff. Then I want to do it, man. And I do it, gladly and openly and with the best intentions at heart, man. So I appreciate you, man. I appreciate everyone that's tuning in. My man over here killing it over here on that, what's that called, like the pad, the
Yeah, I don't even know what I don't even know what it's called. But hey, shout out to everybody that's actually tuning in, and make sure that you guys subscribe. Make sure that you guys hit that bell button so that way you guys get on all the notifications. Bruno, if somebody's trying to reach out to you, how can they reach out to you?
So you can hit me up at bruno10k.com, or you can always find me on any social media platform at makinghomeowners.com.
Sweet. You guys know how you guys can find me. Make sure that you guys go to the link in my bio, and all my information is going to be there. You guys are going to be able to text me and see everything that we are doing to change our military service members and veterans' lives. This is me signing out. I'll see you guys in the next week, which, by the way, we have a pretty good podcast with a retired sergeant major. Hint, hint, it's not going to be Barry Bull. So I'll see you guys in the next one.